Today's video is one of encouragement. My name is William Hutchison. I'm the owner, along with my wife, of the two real estate companies that you see in the thumbnail. We're approaching the end of September, and I'm sure some of you, especially in the northern climes, are thinking about where you might want to go for a winter vacation. And I'm suggesting that you put Colombia on your radar. I think this is my 133rd video that I've done, and there's a lot of information there. It's specific basically to Armenia. Some of it can be applied to the rest of Colombia, but I think that you would do yourself a favor, especially those close to retirement or perhaps retired, if you came to Colombia for a short period of time. And by that I mean perhaps 10 days to 2 weeks. We have a nice two bedroom condo, well located, that we can put you into. Spirit flies directly from Fort Lauderdale into Armenia, as it does to a lot of other cities. I'm biased towards Armenia. It's a nice sized city, about 330,000 people. Has everything. It's very, very convenient. If you want to fly back to the US or Canada, even over to Europe, there's a lot of flights out of Bogota that go to Europe, particularly Spain, Portugal, those countries. And to come in here from Fort Lauderdale is just over 3 hours. It's a short flight. It's usually fully booked. Comes 3 times a week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. I recognize that the phrase I use is to each their own. If you want the sea, then you'd be looking at places like Santa Marta, Rodadero, Tayrona, Barranquilla, Cartagena, Tulu, Baru, perhaps San Andres. Hot and humid. That's not for me anymore. I think when I was younger, probably. But I was back in Santa Marta about 1.5 years ago, and to be honest, I felt like I was in a frying pan. And it's not so much the heat, I think it's the humidity. It gets to 95 degrees and very high humidity. I don't know what the exact number was, but I would guess 85 or 90%. And it's draining, at least for me. You might like the mountains, Manizales. There's all kinds of different topography here. Colombia has been rated the 3rd most beautiful country in the world, behind Indonesia, #1, and New Zealand was #2. Even if it's not 3, it's certainly in the top 5. So you have all kinds of choices. You can be on the sea, or you can be in the mountains, or you can be somewhere in between, an in-between place like Armenia that offers all of the conveniences, good medical, the city's clean, the city's safe. As far as cities are concerned, you have a pretty good choice there if you're a city person. You can go to Bogota. It's at elevation, it's cooler. I read quite a while back now, but I think the article said the highest it's ever been in Bogota recorded since they've been recording temp is 82 degrees. Most days in Bogota it's high 60s, maybe gets to 70. You can look at Medellin, very temperate climate, very similar to Armenia. It's called the City of Eternal Spring, close to 3 million people. Bogota in the metro area has 12 million. The city itself is almost 8. But Medellin, great city too. It has, for medical, 7 of the top rated 20 hospitals in all of South America. So that includes countries like Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Ecuador. To have 7 of the top 20 in one city in Colombia is amazing. You could go to Cali if you want hot and humid with a city, and that would suit you. But Cali right now is the most dangerous city in Colombia based on murders per 100,000 people. And I know a lot of that is in drugs, probably, and that sort of segment of society, but it's not anywhere that I really want to be. Here in Armenia, you're safe. As I said before, it's clean. You're close to 2 international airports. If you can't get a flight out of Armenia, the airport is 35 minutes away from me. I live in the north end of town. The airport's south. Or you could look at Pattaya. If you can't get a flight out of Armenia, you get it out of Pattaya. And that airport is only 45 minutes away. The one thing I want to caution you about, if you come here and you like Armenia or anywhere else in Colombia, you should rent for a period of time. And my advice to people is to rent probably for 6 months. You have to know that, for example, Armenia is for you. You just can't think it is. You don't want to be back in the US or some other country and having to go back and having to live there again and trying to sell a home here. It would be a big worry. I know if it was me, I wouldn't sleep at night. The other thing that you have to be careful of, if you're here for a period of time and you want to buy, you have to be careful of the wow factor, or what I call the wow factor. When you see property here that's 20% of what it is in your hometown for a sale purpose, but the people are asking 30%, and in your mind, that's a great deal, you're looking at 2 different markets. And if the value is 20 and you're paying 30, you just paid 10% too much. That happens often. The other thing about buying is you have to consider what you will have when it comes time for you to sell. And my suggestion to you is to stay out of the small pueblos, stay very, don't buy very rural. You have to offer as many things to a potential buyer as possible. And buying in a little town of 10 or 15 or 20,000 people, where most expats don't want to live, especially when it's 3 hours from the airport and maybe 5 hours from a decent hospital. No, you don't want to be in that type of an area. So my advice is to buy the best that you can, that your budget can afford. Keep in mind the property owner visa, 350 times the minimum monthly wage, which right now is about 405,000 pesos, perhaps $110,000 US, 405 million pesos, about 105 US, and buying for that level allows you to apply for the 3-year property owner's visa. There's lots of information specific in my videos. I think the thumbnails are pretty accurate with what they tell you is in there. But if you see something and you go into the video and you have some questions, get a hold of me. My contacts are down below. I'm happy to help. I help a lot of people, answer a lot of questions. You will never hear from me. If you call me and need some information and I give it to you, I capture your number in my phone, because if you ever call me, I want to know who it is. When I get phone calls from numbers that don't have a name, I generally don't answer them. But I will never be back in touch with you. I don't bother people. I don't like to be bothered myself. A little longer today than I wanted it to be, but I think the information's out there. I encourage you to check out Armenia. You can do the Googling. You've got my channel. There's other channels that have done Armenia. There's many that are doing Colombia. There's a lot of channels about Medellin, for example. That's it for today. William Hutchison, Armenia Colombia Realty for Expats, and Salento Colombia Realty, signing off. Have a great weekend. I live in paradise, and you can too.